Hey guys, JMN here, welcome to my channel. Today we got a new Pick 5 episode and it will be different from my usual videos. Instead of presenting a whole genre, I will pick 5 songs from a specific band. Followers of my old channel may know that I'm a big fan of Dir En Grey. In the past I was asked many times how they sound and it always felt like a hard choice to pick the right songs for a general impression of the band. So I sat down and tried to find 5 different characteristics which define the sound of Dir En Grey. Please keep in mind that this task is nearly impossible for a diverse band like Dir En Grey. Therefore I limit the song pool to the tracks from their modern area. I made a cut between the Ain't Afraid to Die single and the Six Ugly mini album. On Six Ugly they reinvented their sound by experimenting with modern metal elements. The change is documented by the heavy remake of the band classic Bioshin. With the following releases, vulgar and referring to death, they made a jump to the Western market and established themselves outside of the visual kei and Japanese music fan circles. Sorry if you expected old hits like Yokan or Jessica reverse. Depending on the feedback I may include those songs in a second part about old Dir En Grey. Enough talk for now. If you don't know the band or you want to show it to your friends, these songs should be the right choice for a proper band introduction. My first choice is Sun Remake and I picked it for 2 reasons. First of all, Dir En Grey are constantly changing their sound and this affects their old songs too. Kyo loves to change the melodies or lyrics during live shows. In addition, the band released many reworked studio recordings and alternative unplugged versions. A fan favorite like Sun was a risky pick for a rework, but they turned it into a massive riff inferno. In my opinion, it is one of their most entertaining songs to watch live. This brings me to the second reason for picking Sun Remake. It is one of the heaviest songs in their back catalogue. With Ouroboros they started to use death metal and deathcore-esque elements. Growls, breakdowns and low-tuned guitar riffs added another dimension to their sound. Some of those heavy songs may sound a bit too forced like the Inferno or Decayed Crow. However, most of them are great headbangers with memorable riffs like Hakeshi Sato or Kiritu Mayu. Quite the opposite is shown in their ballads. Dir En Grey released many great songs which show their soft and fragile side. It was pretty hard for me to pick one for this slot. I thought about songs like Vanitas or Wahre Yami Tote, but in the end I went with Conceived Sorrow. The Marrow of a Bone was the first Dir En Grey album I learned to love. It was released during their most destructive phase. Especially Kyo was constantly pushing himself over his limit by hurting himself or acting like a maniac during live shows. The production was pretty raw and the songwriting was focused on aggressive and repetitive riffs. You may call this album their personal Sandanger. I guess this is the reason why Conceived Sorrow stands out so much. The song shows the band from a completely different side. The haunting piano melody, perfect song progression and one of the most emotional choruses ever sung by Kyo make this song a masterpiece. There isn't any song beside Ain't Afraid to Die that touched my soul as much as this. Let's come to the part which scares the most people away from Dir En Grey, the Weirdness. The band always had a fable for creepy visuals, take videos like Sun, Matsuist of Decadence or Obscure for example. This tradition continues within their songs. Kyo developed a big range of strange vocal sounds and voice imitations through the years. Most of them can be heard in so-called inward screams during live shows. However, those appear in regular songs too. Sometimes they sound so random and out of place that people get annoyed by them. On the other hand, they can be strangely fascinating. When I thought about a representation of this side of the band, I remembered the performance of the Blossoming Beelzebub during that Dam Spiro Sparrow symphonic show in 2011. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out on the bonus disc of the Rinkaku Deluxe version. Q had a very bad throat condition during the show, causing his voice to break multiple times throughout the set. You can hear this in songs like Lotus. However, during the Blossoming Beelzebub he seemed completely changed. His acting and voice was so weird and urgent that it gave me goosebumps. He seemed like someone possessed by a demon. I was totally blown away and had to revisit Dam Spiro Sparrow again. I didn't like the album on release because it seemed like a mess of unfinished ideas without any concept. However, this performance was the key to make me understand the artistic standpoint. It somehow made me appreciate the album. Definitely a mind-changing experience. I know the word progressive is overused these days, but for me it sums up the idea of breaking traditional songwriting and the will to explore new ideas. Dir En Grey were always experimental, but Ouroboros moved it to a whole new level. I could have chosen one of the other monumental tracks like the Genius Macabre remake, but Vinushka seems complex and accessible at the same time. I showed this song to many people who aren't familiar with Dir En Grey and got always positive feedback. Sweet melodies, groove, heavy riffs and brutal vocals, you can find all of them in this 9-minute magnum opus. The different parts transition well and offer enough flexibility and small details like the flute. Beside its length, it still has some catchy parts, which is rather untypical for such an epos. On top of the perfect songwriting and arrangement comes the music video dealing with the victims of the Hiroshima bombing and the lyrics questioning the short memory and ignorance of humanity. Yeah, I know what you think, no obscure, no Saku, no the final. Well, I could make a whole separate category for catchy singers and live show favorites, but for my last pick I decided to go with a different approach. Atmosphere is a pretty general word to describe music. I think a lot of Dir En Grey songs transport a certain feeling or mood in their own way. However, there are two songs with such an intense aura that they still give me chills while listening. Those songs are Merciless Cult and Audience Killer Loop. I can't exactly point my finger on what makes them so special, but they catch me every time. Both songs have the perfect use of electronics, striking riffs, subliminal aggression and mesmerizing vocals. I know these are two songs, but I can't decide between them. I have yet to find a song which has a similar dark feeling to those two masterpieces. This being said, we already arrived at the end of this Pick 5 episode. I honestly believe these songs are great starting points to dive into the world of modern Dir En Grey. Do you agree with my list or would you have chosen different songs? Let me know your 5 songs in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave me a like or comment. For more content about Japanese music you can subscribe to my channel or follow me on Twitter. Thanks again for watching and have a great day.